So welcome everyone to Streaming Media East, first full day. I'm Jim Lauterbach, CEO of Internet Television Network Revision 3, and we are going to be talking a little bit about YouTube's new content channels and talking about which ones are working, which ones aren't working. Let me first introduce the panelists, and I'm going to give them a chance to give a couple seconds on what they're up to, and then we'll jump into it. We've got 45 minutes, and a lot of it is going to be very hands-on, really looking at things that are up there and figuring out what's working and what isn't. And I encourage everybody to be interactive. If you see something you like or don't like, think somebody's doing something well, raise your hand or just speak out. Again, it's a great group over here, but there's a lot of great expertise in this room, I know. So let me just go down the list here. John Evershed's a co-founder and CEO of Mondo Media. If you don't know Mondo Media, Happy Tree Friends and all those other things, we can talk a little bit about it. But awesome company doing animation, half on YouTube, half not. Josh Cohen is the co-founder of TubeFilter. If you're not reading TubeFilter every day, you do not know what's going on in the internet video space. And then Paul Contonis, who is Chief Marketing Officer at Outrigger Media. It said in the book that he was at Digitas, but I guess something changed. And we might hear a little bit about that. Paul is also the chairman of the International Association of Web Television, IAWTV, a great organization that if you're involved in the internet digital video space, you definitely want to be a member of. So what I want to do real quick is just give these guys a couple secs to talk a little bit about what they're doing, and then we'll jump right into it. So, John, want to kick us off?
Yes. Okay. So my name's John Evershed. Again, I'm CEO of Mondo Media. We're an animation channel for teens and young adults with a pretty big footprint on YouTube. We've done about 1.5 billion views on YouTube so far and counting. The content is somewhat similar to Adult Swim or Fox's animation domination block. Targeted at teens, young adults. Best known probably for a couple of properties, Happy Tree Friends, the one that Jim just held up, as well as Dick Figures, which is coming on very strong for us. Those properties each do roughly 20 million views a month on YouTube as part of our offering on our channel, which is called Mondo Media, youtube.com/Mondo Media. We were also recipients of the YouTube investment to develop more content to really build out this channel. Unlike a lot of guys, we're building on the channel we've already got by adding lots more content to the channel. And it's very global. Our audience is from all over the world. The vast, and actually it's very mobile. Over 35% of our audience is coming from mobile. So that's who we are, Mondo Media animation channel on YouTube.
Very good. Thank you. Josh?
As Jim said, my name is Josh Cohen. I'm one of the co-founders of a website called TubeFilter. And TubeFilter more or less is kind of like an Entertainment Weekly / Hollywood Reporter, except focused on the online video industry. So we cover the web series and new media space the same way those publications cover traditional film and television. So that means everything from talking about some of the shows that John does to Revision 3's recent acquisition by the Discovery Channel to a lot of these, talking about a lot of these.
There I am.
A lot of these channels that
that was not planned.
to talking about a lot of these channels that we're going to see here. And then we also do an award show called the Streamy Awards with a company called Dick Clark Productions. They're the producers of the Golden Globes, the American Music Awards, American Country Music Awards, and it's a big red carpet award show, not unlike the Oscars or the Emmys, except we honor excellence in web television and new media.
Cool. And Paul, do you want me to pull up a website for you?
You don't need to.
Okay, all right.
My name is Paul Contonis. As of last Wednesday, I was the VP Group Director of the third act at Digitas, which is the brand content group at the company, at the ad agency Digitas. As of last Thursday, I became the Chief Marketing Officer of a company called Outrigger Media, founded in 2009, and it connects brands with content. Our focus is on developing a platform called OpenSlate, which measures and scores native digital content. Focus on attracting advertiser dollars into the space and helping advertisers understand how to buy against video content. I'll give you a little bit of data to tell you why this is important. Hulu served up in March about 1.3 billion video views in March. They served up 1.6 billion video ads. Advertisers think of that content as premium, and they buy happily against it. YouTube served up 16 billion videos in March and only served up 1.7 billion ads. advertisers don't like that content. They don't think of it as a premium, and they don't like to buy against it. And when they do, it's a very low CPM. Our goal is to provide the missing metric for advertisers, which is the quality of content, create a scoring system very similar to a credit score, 3-digit score, which I'll be sharing with you guys today for the first time, that they can then buy against happily, comfortably, and explain to their clients why they're spending money on their content.
Cool. So let's jump into the topic at hand, which I put up as what about YouTube? And y'all know that YouTube about last October funded about 100 channels, spent 100 million, 200 million. I don't know. Josh, what was the final amount they spent? You guys reported on it.
I mean, they all reporting says 100 million, but rumors and people close to the source say anywhere from like upwards of 2 to 250 million.
A
So
lot
lot of money.
Additional 200 million on marketing it.
Right, and then more on marketing. You know, and we're starting to see them come out. About half of them are coming out. I think as you see the channels that start to come out, a couple of them are becoming clear successes. Some of them are just sort of bouncing, but some of them aren't. So really, when I want to take a look at, you know, first of all, why have so many not launched, and how do you define success? And I'm going to jump out of this and really jump into first of all, this is a list of the channels that they launched. And if you look at it, you'll see the ones that are that have a black headline have not launched. The ones that have a blue headline mostly have launched. So I guess first of all, and I thought, John, that you guys hadn't launched because it was going over there, but you actually have launched. But why, John, why are so many not launching yet?
It takes time. It takes time to identify the content you want to make. Then it takes time to literally sign the contracts with the people you want to make it. Then it takes time to actually make it. And I think some of the bigger guys are slower at doing those things. Some of the smaller guys that are more fleet-footed and maybe had something going into it, either they were a pre-existing channel or they were a smaller company just focused specifically on this space. Mm-hmm. I think they had more likely the ability to get up and live. It does take. We do animation. Like if I want to make an animated series, it probably takes me, a month or two to get the guys signed. It takes me a month or two to get the first episodes up. And for all intents and purposes, we launched in January. We're now in May, so I'm barely launched.
Yeah, Josh, when you talk to a lot of the creators, any thoughts on why so few, not so few have launched, but there's a bunch of them that haven't?
I think YouTube is at its core a technology company, and it's making a shift pretty dramatically into being an entertainment and a media company. And I think it's having some growing pains in that shift, so that when they say they're going to have a $100 million initiative to fund 96 some odd channels of premium content, that doesn't happen overnight. It's just taken a lot longer than I think they initially anticipated.
Paul?
Well, I've always known it to be a rolling process. So $100 million wasn't spent in 1 week. It was spent over a considerable amount of time. There was no set dates on when that money was going to be given out and who was going to be given the channels. And I've always known from the sales end of things, being at the agency, we were always getting presented the sales strategy, and it was always on a quarterly basis. So there were groups of channels identified to be rolled out at different times. The next big rollout will be in the September-October time period, just before Q4 will be the next big flush of channels coming out there.
All right, so Paul, you've been on the advertising side, and you've been talking with YouTube about this. How are they defining success? How do they talk about that to you guys? What makes a successful channel?
Well, I think in their mind, success is already done. They've already succeeded in what they were planning on doing.
Well, no, but that's a bullshit answer. How do you define success for an individual channel? We're here talking about successes and failures on 100 channels.
Sure.
How do you define success for an individual channel? It's not launch, right?
Well, it's definitely not launch, but it's changing perception. The number one reason why this money was spent was to change perception about YouTube as being a place where you could find premium content. You see how poorly they monetize the inventory that they have, and this is the first step in doing that. Ideally, they want to be able to sell out all the inventory on these channels and help it to sell other inventory. When they first went out with their sales, their packing ratio was about 10 to 1, which meant that for every dollar you spent on Geek and Sundry or SourceFed, one of the top channels that they have, $10 was spent on channels that were just within the category that you didn't want to buy.
Right.
Very similar to a network sales strategy. You can't go into Comedy Central and say you're going to buy South Park and only South Park. You can't go to Adult Swim, John, you brought up Adult Swim, and say you're going to buy Family Guy, Cartoon Network. You can't do it. You have to buy across the whole network, various day parts. That's what they did. So these are meant to be the drivers for that content.
So what you're saying is that these channels don't actually have to get any views. The fact that they're out there and exist is the most important thing.
Ideally, yes. Secondarily, no, they do need views. Yeah. At the end of the day, they have to create inventory because they have to monetize that inventory. But if they can monetize a hell of a lot more of their inventory overall, the channels don't want to hear this because the channels have to recoup basically that money. So they don't want to know that the YouTube is using them. This is one of the big issues that it's going to come out. YouTube is using them to drive other inventory and giving them less money, which basically means that they're not going to recoup as quickly.
So, John, you feel like a Corvette in the showroom when people are buying Corvettes?
Do I feel used? No, I don't feel used, actually. We already had quite a bit of momentum on YouTube. So the nice thing about those deals is we own all the IP. So we can do anything off YouTube with it, or we could even convert the deals into making. If we've got a hit, we can make them ourselves and take them outside of the YouTube deal. That's a pretty nifty deal. You can't get that type of deal in Hollywood anywhere, where you own the IP and you can go off. YouTube has a holdback of 18 months on all the content in that $100 million or $200 million or whatever it turned out to be. So I don't feel that. I do think though that. YouTube made the shift from okay, we need to get all this premium content on there, right? I think the YouTube sales force now has to make the transition. Like they just had a very flashy upfront here in New York a couple of weeks ago, right? And I thought they did everything right at that upfront. Like if I was a buyer there, I would look at that thing and go, damn, YouTube, I've got to be on YouTube. This is a big deal. Yeah. I think it's a little overwhelming for buyers. But I think the final challenge now is to link up content, the perception of value of premium with the advertisers. In other words, I'm a channel on YouTube. I haven't met anybody in sales. Literally, I've not met anybody in sales. I've met them at cocktail party. But I mean, so I think that final piece is YouTube actually coming to grips with the fact that they're selling sex appeal, and they're all spreadsheet-driven guys, and they're all PowerPoint guys. And I even had an interesting conversation where I was trying to sort of get them to come to a screening for a piece of content that I'm pretty enthusiastic about. And they were like, well, just send us the deck. And it's like, well, actually, how are people going to get excited? They need to hear the boom. They need to hear the rumble. They need to
sell the sizzle, right?
Sell the sizzle, exactly. And that part's not there yet.
Josh, how do you think, I mean, for the sake of our discussion here, are we talking about winners and losers and success and not? How should we define success? I mean, what makes a successful YouTube channel?
Well, if you want the annoying answer, it's like what Paul said, is that they're all successes now at this point because they changed the conversation. But if you want to get a little more specific, I don't think there's a certain metric you can. There's no line in the sand you can draw and say, okay, a channel that has above this engagement or above this views or above this subscribers is a success, and the channel below all these metrics is a failure. But I think you can look at channels on an individual basis and definitely say that is a success or that's a failure.
Let's do that then, because I think I wanted to start out with what I thought were successes, but since you're saying everything's a success, I'm going to start out with one that I think is a failure, at least so far. So this is Smart Girls at the Party, the Smart Girls channel. There are 375 video views and 67 subscribers.
Yeah,
is this a success?
98% of the videos, the channels on YouTube are better than this channel.
So these guys took a bunch of money. Amy Poehler's behind it. They're bacon strawberry shortcake sliders.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this?
Amy Poehler needs to be in them.
Hey, now that's an interesting point of view. So a lot of these channels were sold around a particular talent, and that talent actually hasn't shown up.
There's no engagement on this channel. So when we look at the data about this channel, overall, it's the lowest, probably one of the lowest scores you can get in our system on engagement, which means that no one's commenting back, no one is clicking thumbs up, no one's doing anything on these videos, and they're not traveling off of YouTube. Plus, they're incredibly inconsistent. So they put out videos every now and then, and the views aren't that high. Or they're mixing up. Some do really well, some do very poor. So you've got everything going against you in this case.
What's that?
There you go.
Yeah,
doing yogini.
So she's there.
And she got 18 versus 20. So
I would venture to say that I don't know. I mean, I'm watching this.
I think part of this is you see this a lot with some of the YouTube original channels where lots of established entertainment and notable Hollywood celebrities and names who are coming over to the platform are doing phenomenally poorly on it. It's the YouTubers, it's the people who have been on YouTube for the past several years, or the people that know how to engage in the community that are doing incredibly well on these YouTube original channels. Mm-hmm. Like Tony Hawk has another, is the spokesperson for another channel, and his channel is not, despite Tony Hawk and despite all the credibility that name may lend, his channel isn't quite doing as poorly as Amy Poehler's, but it's not doing well.
What's the name of that channel?
What's that? Oh, yeah, there's a question in the audience. Go ahead.
Yeah, quick question with regards to this. There's low and then there's really low.
Right.
When I see something that's this low, what jumps out at me isn't necessarily lack of engagement, but lack of promotion. Right.
So that's a really good question, is what about promotion, and is promotion actually happening to sort of get people exposed to this? John? Sorry, John. Yeah. No, I looked at your phone and I was thinking John because you're doing this. You're a channel out there. Are they promoting what you're doing?
No. They say they are. I couldn't even quantify. I have no idea what that means. So the way we promote is through social media platforms. It's through Facebooks and Twitters and stuff like that. So you can't sort of buy media to create interest. It's very difficult to do that.
But YouTube can be putting this stuff on the homepage, right?
Well, there's no place to really curate the homepage. The homepage is owned by the advertising team. It's not owned by the editorial team, so they really can't do that.
Oh, that's a problem. Josh, you want to add anything before I
just heard conversations where YouTube is reticent to, at this point, put original channels in some featured location on the homepage because, like Paul said, that space is designated for advertising.
You sell it at a very high dollar amount, the homepage.
Right.
So.
Okay. Go ahead. No,
if Smart Girls has a website or something like that where they're doing blogging, there's a lot of different ways to promote a website. I think you're relaunching in July.
So
I would too.
So relaunching. Yeah. Any thoughts on what they're going to do better when they relaunch?
Well, I think they need a better name. I mean, because what does Smart Girls at the Party say?
They need a better name.
Smart Girls at the Party.
Owns available.
And the sad thing about this is this channel launched in 2007.
Yeah.
So this channel has actually been up for quite some time, and it has not. We don't know what the activity has been on it.
Well, there's only 12 videos, so
yeah, it's just been dormant. It's just been sitting there. So
I think that people need to go the traditional route with publicity. Why aren't people doing like when they're on the Tonight Show? Why don't they mention these days that they have a channel?
Yeah. So again, I did mean to single them out, but I wanted to talk about a number of channels and what's working. So
but by the way, they're not the worst.
What's the worst?
Maker Music. Maker Music is actually. Kick TV. Sorry, Kick TV is actually the worst one out of all of them.
Let's go take a look at Kick TV and find out what's not working.
And let's move on to some that are working.
We will.
And I'm sad about this one because it's a soccer one.
Everybody likes
right there, Kick TV.
Everybody likes the failures.
I think that says something about American consumers.
So Kick TV. So wow, check that out. That looks like
it looks awesome. It looks good.
See, I have a little theory about like stuff that looks too slick. You know, when you think about the 14 through 24 demo, which is probably the core of YouTube, I actually think that there's an aesthetic and a kind of cultural thing where they're rejecting their mom and dad's warmed over TV, and they're wanting to identify their own heroes, their own stars on their platform that they love and that they're creating themselves. And when they see this sort of stuff that looks a little bit too close to TV and a little bit like infotainment almost, I think they kind of glaze over because it just feels aesthetically like something that they're not part of. Like this is somebody else's entertainment that they're watching.
Right. But the good thing about it is it's getting a lot better. It's growing a lot rapidly. If you look at some of the newest videos, it's actually really starting to take off. But up until a couple of weeks ago, this was the worst one. But it really is making a big shift. Yeah, it's making a big shift.
What made it so bad?
Well, just it wasn't. They weren't being very consistent when they first started.
Yeah,
they were just getting their feet wet, and now we're
just. It could be simply discovery, right? I could just like.
Now they're starting to take off.
I mean,
look at within the weeks. The week.
Well, they've got
doing very well now.
Yeah, but very well is 1,000 views an episode.
No, that's not.
No, but it's better than it was.
That's not.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is, but it's still not going to pay back anybody's money.
This is an example where you can really turn them around.
Yeah.
I think that's the key thing, is that just because it's where it is right now, you can actually turn the channel around.
What metric group? So YouTube, from Bleacher Report, we're part of the program, so they're pushing on us to make sure we're constantly pointing at the subscribe button.
Right.
Which seems to be more their metric than my metric, but that's a different discussion for another day. What metrics are you playing against Kick TV that tells you from bad now to good?
I can tell you what I look for.
Go for it.
Like, I look for, not all of our shows are going to hit. The ones that hit have to do millions of views in order for us to prop up our channel. And it's really straightforward, right? It cost me probably $5,000 to make a short. And, we net from YouTube maybe a $2 CPM end of day. So you can do the math on that, right? How many views do you need to recoup your $5,000? I think those CPMs are all going to go north as YouTube starts to kind of move into this premium sales thing, but by orders of magnitude. So my $2 is going to go to $4. It's kind of a game changer,
right?
And that's sort of some of the simple math about what are meaningful numbers on YouTube. Now I'm spending $5,000. There's probably some people that spend $1,000 per short. And there's probably some people that are spending oodles of money, so they've got to be doing tens of millions of views. There's very few, I don't think anybody does consistently tens of millions of views. Like, I think the very best.
Epic rap battles of history.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they do very well. Rooster Teeth does very
even
well
the best video bloggers do sort of 3
ERB.
5 million.
Check out the channel,
kind of thing?
ERB. Yeah,
3 5
YouTube,
million?
ERB.
Right, like Phil DeFranco or
Yeah.
Ray William Johnson will get 1 million, 5 million.
Yeah.
Smosh is up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smosh.
Well, I think you've got to look at your channel in particular, Bleacher Report. You're above the average in the sports category. You're above average of the top 10,000 producers. And you're fairly consistent in the content that you're producing. So that's going to be helpful. Your engagement's a little bit lower compared to everyone else's. But you raise that number and you will start being a higher performing channel for advertisers to look at and go, this is premium content I need to be involved in.
You mentioned something, too. You were talking earlier about the Young Turks, which is a news-based offering, similar to you guys in that you're sports folks, right? And they did, interestingly, they didn't have a big subscriber number relative to their views, because if you're just coming to watch the news, you're probably using keyword search or something to get there. And it might be something similar for sports where subscribers aren't your driver. It's helpful.
Right.
Once you own that subscriber, you own them, but it's not the whole game.
Yeah, and our driver is currently our site, right?
Right.
Right, use the site, yeah.
Unique, so,
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're doing about 2 million views a month right now on YouTube and about 18,000 subscribers. So
it's it's a tough battle. It's sort of getting into the promotional side of it. You play the, and I guess that's part of the tactical battle of channels. So you go back to Amy's example, the Amy Poehler example. That is all non-native SEO on YouTube, right? And other channels are playing the pure SEO game within YouTube, right? Trying to game the same way people game Google News.
Right, use it, yeah, optimizing for YouTube specifically.
Yeah, and just decide that that's your platform versus your website. That comes down to which.
Well, it is your platform. I mean, look, YouTube is your platform, and that is, in many ways, what you should be optimizing for. Let's take a look at really one of the clear successes here.
Did you track Ellen at all?
SourceFed?
Have you been tracking?
Yeah. So this is SourceFed, and this is from Phil DeFranco. Something interesting that he's doing that a number of other channels, or that I've seen not, he's got one show, one thing, one channel versus multiple shows per channel. But, if you look at the videos that they've done, and I'm just going to take a look at all the uploaded videos, he's doing 100,000, 128,000, 135,000, 140,000 per video, which is huge compared to everybody else. So what is he doing right?
I think this is an example of what I said before of where you have a native YouTuber like Phil DeFranco who has 2-point-whatever million views, who's been on YouTube, who was one of the first 10 actual YouTube partners to split in the advertising revenue. And so then he knows how to do this. He's been making a living out of this for literally the past 5 years. So when he gets some funding to create a new channel, it does way better than anyone else does. I think this is probably one of the top ones out of all the originals. He's on
number one.
He's on pace. He's been live for 3 or 4 months now. He's on pace to break 100 million views sometimes next week. But it's interesting that, so you look at SourceFed. SourceFed has 400,000 subscribers. You look at Phil DeFranco's channel, SXE Phil, has 2-point-something million subscribers. Granted, that's been around for a lot longer. But even that transition rate from his old channel to his new channel from a native YouTuber, he's just getting a fraction of the subscribers that he had on the other channel. So imagine how difficult, if that's that hard for him, if he's only getting 20% of his subscribers to transfer over to his new channel, imagine how difficult it is for some of these Hollywood celebrities who don't have people who are already viewing their content on YouTube. Imagine how hard it is for them to drive traffic.
He announced this channel and had 50,000 subscribers before he put anything up.
Yeah,
So
it's
he had
been
a little
around
bit
for
of a head
year.
start.
It actually launched April 25th in 2011. It is the top percent of all the measured channels right now. Its consistency is absolutely through the roof, 90 out of 100 in consistency, which means that he's regularly producing videos.
Yeah, they put 2 or 3 videos
getting-
up every day.
It's a regular
Consistently.
schedule, incredibly high engagement, and the videos are traveling way off of YouTube on Facebook and Twitter. So social is a very big part of it, and consistency is
Well, and some of the things that he's doing that's good as you look at this is he's very timely. So his thumbnails are good. I mean, he's got, the kind of attractive thing going. Every now and then he talks about sex, which is good. And George Bush, which I guess does okay.
It feels like Huffington Post headlines.
Well, if you think about it, let me go back towards the stuff that he did on Friday. He was doing Tim Burton's Dark Shadows. So when the movie came out, he had stuff on it. When there was something big going on, they've got something happening. He's using the SF for SourceFed as a logo that he's starting to put out there so that when you see this show up in your feed when you log into YouTube, you're like, oh yeah, I like SourceFed, I'll watch that. So a bunch of really good stuff. And if you take a look at one of the individual episodes, everybody loves Nazis, so killing Nazis is great. So that's going to get people to click just starting off. But if you look at, I think it's really interesting that every single one of his videos, at least the ones I've seen, he's put at the top of the description, order your posters. So he's actually monetizing in definitely interesting ways.
Yeah.
Other thoughts about what he's doing right? John, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's your point, which is the guy had a huge footprint already, and he's leveraging that. I think you can almost correlate, like, how much does somebody's dinner depend on them being successful on YouTube, right? So Amy Poehler, I love Amy Poehler, by the way. I don't know why I'm down on her, but it doesn't matter to her whether this is a success or not on YouTube. It matters to Phil, and it mattered for a long time, and he's just really good at it.
And look at his tags. I mean, he puts his own channel in the tags, right? So that's a great thing. But he's got all the tags about all the video games that people are searching for. He's got his own tag.
But he didn't overdo it.
Right. He didn't
So
overdo
he's got
it.
the main
exactly.
ones you need to find. And then look at the description, bless you. The description has so much stuff in it that you can, activate on.
Why do you think he put this tag in, which is basically the date it was released, that SF for SourceFed?
So you can search for all the episodes he's put out by date?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to ask him. There was a question out here, by the way. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the relation of these options with linear television, traditional linear television? Are they substitute, complementary, cross-promotion, no relationship at all?
How do these channels relate to linear television? For viewers or for creators?
For viewers and ultimately advertisers.
For viewers and advertisers. You guys want to take that?
I noticed that the latest research is showing that the session lengths are growing online. I think they're up to, I want to say, 6.5 minutes from.
You guys had it on your home.
They're up to 6.4 minutes from 5.2 minutes last year.
Yeah, and I actually think that's a pretty big jump, and it'll hopefully keep growing. So I think overall, as tablets become more predominant, I mean, already, like I mentioned earlier, 35 to 40% of consumption of our video is on a tablet, and I think that's a better viewing experience because you're more relaxed, you're not sitting at your desk, it's more of a casual experience, I guess. So I think tablets are probably the big game changer, and then the really big one is over the top. However that evolves, it's not clear at all yet to me. But I think it's sort of that pathway, tablets to over the top, that increases the session lengths and allows us to start doing longer form content.
So from the studio standpoint, they're mostly looking at as extensions of the brands that they've created on air. CBS is really leading the charge in web originals along with NBCU, which is a little bit different from the NBC content. And they're willing to do some more web originals, brand funded mostly. From a advertiser perspective, if we can buy, or if an advertiser can buy on air and online, the brand metrics improve substantially and it's a better buy overall. So advertisers are now looking to buy the complementary content online. The value has to be presented on why native digital video, this kind of stuff, is even better than what's on air, and that the opportunities are even better in its premium content. So we're in a little bit of a shift right now.
Yeah, you gotta believe eventually someone will be watching regular television on a platform and in real time shift over to this and go back and forth. So that surfing will occur simultaneously.
Which is what happens now. Everyone watches TV and has their iPad open, their laptop open, they're using their mobile phone. The only thing is that the big change that John was saying with an iPad in particular, it's shifting to a first screen type experience. Whereas laptops and phones are a second screen where you want little bits of information, little hits, a little interactivity. iPads, people tend to watch like they do TV.
For advertisers, there's a disconnect in the metrics in linear television and the metrics here.
Yeah, and the metrics online are a hell of a lot better than the metrics on TV.
Well, and a lot of that engagement and the other things that we're starting to work on, I mean, that's some of the stuff Paul's company's working on, it's some of the stuff you see Comscore and Nielsen trying to get a handle on as well. There are great communities being built with great engagement that are great for advertisers. It's just we've had difficulty as an industry really communicating that out. That's changing. Yeah. We've got a bunch of questions. I'm going to go to this gentleman in the back over here. And Tim, I'll get to you, and then I'll get over there as well.
I don't understand the difference between these content channels and a regular branded channel.
So it's a good question. The difference between a content channel, a branded channel. I want to expand it a little bit. This is something that I wanted to pursue as well. Remember when we looked at SourceFed, and SourceFed was one YouTube channel with one stream of content, and it's kind of a show. I mean, YouTube uses the word channel, and I think they use it incorrectly. And for a long time, we've been told, and we've seen, and I think everyone has sort of had one show per channel on YouTube. Now, if you look at a lot of these new funded channels, they're coming up with multiple shows inside of a funded channel. So I've got Nerdist up, and one of the arguably more successful of them, they've got All-Star Celebrity, they've got Face to Face, they've got 4 Points, they got Ain't It Cool, they got Justin Willman's Magic Meltdown. These are individual shows on a single channel. Josh, what do you think? You've seen it both ways. Which one works better, and why the shift?
I think the shift was that they needed to substantiate their YouTube paying them six-figure checks, and that they needed to produce a ton of programming in order that will hopefully get a ton of views to substantiate that kind of cash. I think it will eventually, consumers will get used to this. Like you said, it was traditionally we have one show per channel, but I think consumers are starting to get used to this type of programming. Like the Nerdist is eventually going to have something ridiculous like 30 some odd channels, which might be a little overkill, but for the time being, it has a few and it has specific release schedules for specific days. The idea is that then the shows are cross-promotional and feed off of each other, like the Daily Show feeds into Colbert Report.
Well, John, I mean, if I'm a fan of Happy Tree Friends, I can't just subscribe to Happy Tree Friends, right? I've got to subscribe to the whole Mondo Media channel and get everything, right?
I think you bring up a really, I think they'll solve this problem. It's not that hard. You just, I can subscribe to a channel or shows within a channel. They just need a mechanism to do that. It's not there yet.
Yeah.
The other weird thing is that if you look at our audience feedback about the experience as a user of multiple shows on our channel, is they hate it. They really do. Like, when we post a new show on an existing channel, they're like, this show sucks. This is the worst. Yeah. I came here, I signed up for Happy Tree Friends, and I got this new piece of crap. Like, I'm done. I'm out of here. Like, that's literally the response. So there's a whole education tool thing that's missing right now on YouTube that has to happen, because I also don't see the point of running a channel and trying to brand every different little channel and get audiences to them. Like, you want to concentrate your audience under one brand, one roof, just because it's more efficient and you can introduce new content and get continuity and like a rolling flow of content, because IP inevitably goes into decline. Like, not all IP lasts forever, so
right.
You want to have this kind of rolling audience base you're working with, and I don't think that I just have to believe that YouTube will get better at the tools.
Paul?
Right. Well, I think you have to start thinking like a network, and your homepage, your channel page, is basically your network page, and it's what's on now, what's live now. You might like Survivor but hate every other show on the network. That doesn't mean you don't turn to any other show. You don't watch Survivor because you happen to turn on, what is it, on CBS, and you find some other show that you absolutely disdain, so you stop watching Survivor. I think that's it just has to be shaped a little bit better. You have to start training your audience. It's harder with a channel that's been around a lot longer and identified with one main hit to add on other ones. John, I feel your pain. That's a tough one in particular. But for the new ones, I think there's an opportunity to build a brand around a network and create it off a channel, do the series playlist, or go the other way. YouTube gives you the tools to add on the other channels on the side and start cross-promoting and subscribe to multiple channels at once. So you can go either way, whichever way you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about it is the way that YouTube works and the way that they've changed things around is, so what you're seeing right here is the Nerdist channel page. But if you look at your personal page, I think you have to think about it from a user perspective. When a user goes to YouTube, and this was a really big change on their homepage. Now, I'm not signed in, but the first thing you see along with the ad is what they call the feed. And it's very much like a news feed from Twitter or Facebook, where if I was logged in, I would see the latest stuff from all the people that I've subscribed to. Mm-hmm. Now, in this case, it's just whatever YouTube wants to send to me. Although they have actually cookied me since I've been on, because I live in California near something called Devil's Slide. They're building a tunnel and it's sliding in. And even though I'm not logged in,
and we went to Kick TV, so you got some soccer stuff now?
Yeah, it kind of knows that I was there. Yeah, it kind of knows what I've been doing.
They think you're a teen.
Hot teen site, that would make sense. Right?
Stop it. The things that you know about me now. But the important thing is that when you're logged in, the stuff that you've subscribed to will show up here. And I will actually log in, see what I've logged into recently. So you can take a look at me, and you see that I've, Film State, one of our great shows, just released something. I subscribe to Scotty Vest because I like his clothes. But again, the latest things show up here. And if you're a channel and you're pumping 40 things out a day, all 40 of those are going to go into this news feed. And like as not, people are going to unsubscribe because they'll be like, that's just too much crap.
Some porn.
So you can take a look at...
No porn on YouTube.
What's that?
This is a porn gateway section.
Yeah, that's Phil DeFranco. Phil writes good headlines. See, you would have clicked on that. More questions.
Caught your eye.
Sorry, I don't want to cast aspersions on you. Tim, go for it. Tim Street.
I'm curious about analytics on mobile devices. Are you guys able to break things out and see what's being consumed, especially in live streaming on mobile devices?
So YouTube does break stuff out and just puts it in a category of mobile, but that's iPads and phones. So it's a little tough. I think it's averaging around 30% is pretty good, is where you'll probably end up at, is what a lot of people are seeing. But otherwise, what's interesting is the ability to monetize that content is not really there. So on a mobile device, you won't see ads running on things, and that's why YouTube has given you the ability to say, don't play my video on a mobile device. So I think we have a little bit of a ways to go with mobile, and people will really care once you can monetize on mobile.
The big roadblock there is iOS, right? The deal that YouTube struck with Apple, it's like this old legacy deal that if you've got an iPhone or whatever, you see that little weird funky TV. That's actually Apple made that icon and controls that relationship. And I don't know that they're going to resolve it. I've heard rumors they're going to, but it's a really big deal.
Well, there are no ads that show up. I mean, every iOS view does not get any ads on it.
Right. That's why you can turn off those views now. You can say, don't let my content play on a mobile device at all.
Right, or on a non-monetized device.
Yeah, non-monetized device. Yeah.
Pretty crazy. We have another question. Yes, sir.
John, before you mentioned that your content that you're creating, you maintain the IP for.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads me to believe that there is no real
We're all under NDA here, right?
Yeah.
No, I think this is pretty well known. It's just a holdback for 18 months, exclusive, and then you're free to take your IP elsewhere. But you're also free to make other content based on the IP you've invested in with their content, and go off and make it invest in it and make it yourself, or use other people's money or whatever to make it yourself. You're free to do that. It's a little counterproductive. I mean, you do have a relationship to manage there, and you don't want to. If I got an explosive hit and said, "Well, thank you very much, I'm going to go make them on my own," I think that would make it less likely I would receive the next tranche of money, which is probably coming here in a few months, hopefully, if we do it right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
To add to that, then, is it a little bit frustrating to see that, for 18 months, somebody's paying you for content and they're not really pushing it in any way?
The question is, so they're paying you to produce content, but they're not actually promoting it in any way. Is that an issue?
I don't think it's their job. I consider that our job, and that's our existing audience base primarily. Although we have our own website, I run a syndication network where I syndicate out to 50 million other views a month beyond the 50 million we do on YouTube. So I think that's part of. I don't look to them to promote our content.
I think part of the problem with that is again, YouTube was traditionally a technology company, and now it's transitioning into an entertainment company. So as a technology company, and especially after being bought by Google, it was all about analytics. There was no human involvement. All the curators of YouTube were either YouTube didn't have any human curatorial process after its acquisition, and now it's just starting to bring that back. But YouTube's still kind of struggling with the idea, well, what shows do we promote? How often do we promote them? How can we promote these shows and not that shows? Because at its core, it still wants, it got to the position it's in because everyone uploads their videos there, and because everyone has the opportunity to be the next Phil DeFranco. So I think it's having a difficulty navigating this new relationship with being a content creator, but also being a technology company, and also being a place where the stars of tomorrow are going to get their start.
We have time for one more question. Somebody who hasn't asked a question. Go ahead. Sorry.
How the panelists kind of compare and contrast what your audience kind of here and why they've been arguably fairly successful relative to some of the players here in this case?
So, Funny or Die, anyone want to take that on? I'll pull their site up. Their channel up.
That's largely like a star-driven vehicle. It's a show. It's a playground for really rich, fantastic comedians and all of their poor friends to play around on, and they're not. If you ask them, they're not even that focused on profitability or anything. It's really a fun project, an outlet for them to goof around with. That's why I've been told that by those guys.
Yeah, I agree. Judd Apatow described it as their treehouse. This was a couple years ago, but I still think that still holds true. They do some amazing, and I think they've since then developed a reputation where it's fun to work with them. I mean, they do some really cool branded campaigns that
unique,
right? That involve stars like Jeff Goldblum and Zach Galifianakis, and there's a few. There's a one from New Era Caps that involves, I forget their names, but two guys on NBC shows arguing about the Cubs and White Sox.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, that was an earlier one. But they're since they have this reputation, I think they're just able to attract some more amazing talent.
It's kind of interesting, right? It's sort of like the Facebook thing. Like, we don't care if we make money. We're just going to make something really great.
But their new slate of programming looks pretty good. So they are really going to make a big push on their new original programming that is not just star-driven, but incorporates the stars and is really going deeper on those stars versus kind of doing one-offs. They did a lot of one-offs with a lot of people, and now they're going to go deeper on some new series because they had a lot of success with Between Two Ferns. It just showed up on Comedy Central a couple of weeks ago as well in its premiere. So you're going to see a lot more of that.
Here's another interesting thing, which I'm going to ask the gentleman from Bleacher Report about, which you probably won't answer. But I think it's interesting you look at the featured channels over on the right and how people ended up there. And look, Bleacher Report's there, along with Crack.com, which is from Demand Media and a bunch of other things. I wonder if they're charging for that.
No.
That's
good
for you guys. That's great.
That's the $200 million.
But that's another way to get that out, is to make sure that you're working with other channels to get featured and do that cross-promotion. Right. With that, we are out of time. It's lunchtime. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, John.